Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of my series on breeding the Boesemani Rainbowfish. And today we're going to be going over how to prep your aquarium to breed the fish. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so starting off, you need to make sure that your breeding tank is cycled. You need cycled water. If you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, I'll link a video down below. And what that video will be is just a good tutorial on how to cycle a tank and what cycling a tank means. As you can see, I did add quick start to my tank, even though it was in fact cycled, just to make sure that the nitrogen cycle process went just a bit faster to make sure that they stayed healthy. Alright, so next you have to make sure that 1, the heater is working, and 2, that it's actually reading the desired temperature that you set it to. So again, in the last video, we talked about the desired temperature being around 78 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit for the Boesemani Rainbowfish during the breeding stage. Alright, and this may seem like a dumb one, but just check to make sure the lights work because that's a really important part of the process. And if your lights don't work, you can always use natural light coming in from your windows. Just make sure you wake up at sunrise and let a lot of light into the room you're breeding in. Also, make sure that you have a sponge filter in the tank you want to move the eggs to, so when they hatch, the babies don't get sucked up like we talked about in the last video. The breeding tank doesn't necessarily need a sponge filter because you can use a hang on the back filter when you're breeding them, as long as you're moving the eggs into a tank with a sponge filter. Make sure that your spawning mop or your plant is in the fish tank. And I used a fake plant, and I put 2 of them in my tank for breeding. And I just made sure that I was able to easily take them out, so I just kind of set them lightly on top of the gravel. I didn't bury them or anything, just to make it easier for me to remove them and put them in a different tank. Now, if you wanted to keep the eggs in the same tank you bred them in, all you need to do is get a net after you're done breeding them, and then just net out the rainbow fish and put them back into a different tank or a display tank of your choice. Alright, so the next step is to get the Boesemani Rainbowfish into the breeding tank. So if you are removing the Boesemani Rainbowfish from another tank, what I would do is drip acclimate them into the breeding tank. So what you can do is take a bit of airline tubing and then tie off the end to make it go really slow. But I made sure that the temperatures were the same between my display tank and my breeding tank, so I used a siphon to quickly do the process. Now, when it comes to conditioning your rainbow fish for breeding, I would recommend that you feed them between 2 and 6 hours after you put them in your breeding tank. That's coming from my experience when I put them into the tank because they're in a new environment and they're really confused, so they like to look around a lot and figure out where they are before they can even think about eating. When you feed the rainbow fish when they're hungry, it ensures that no extra food is left to dirty up the water. Now, the next day, I would feed them 3 to 4 times a day with a high-protein diet. I alternate between baby brine shrimp and just my normal Tetra food brand that I use. Usually, I try to use the live baby brine shrimp as much as possible. I have noticed that using live baby brine shrimp makes them go absolutely crazy for it. Using live baby brine shrimp just promotes them to eat a lot more and just get all of that protein into their system so they can have proper nutrients for the breeding process. And lastly, I would continue to feed them between 4 and 5 days before you actually try and attempt to breed the Boesemani Rainbowfish. Alright, thank you so much for watching video number 2 of breeding the Boesemani Rainbowfish, and I'll see you in the next part of the video where we actually start the breeding process.